At 5 a.m. on June 28, 1988, a 25-year-old man named Jeffrey Link stood in the supply room of a small factory in Auburn, Indiana. He reached up and he grabbed a container on the shelf, and then he turned, left the supply room, and walked out into the main factory area. So the factory where Jeffrey worked was called Bastion Plating Company, and what they did is they made chrome-plated parts for cars. And Jeffrey's specific job was being a machine operator. This job that Jeffrey did was actually pretty dangerous. The machines they worked on were big industrial machines that often got really hot. So on this particular day, Jeffrey reached the machine that he was going to be performing maintenance on. And this machine was huge. And the only way for him to actually perform maintenance was to get inside of the machine. Jeffrey, with this container he had gotten from the supply room, stepped inside. A few seconds later, one of Jeffrey's colleagues hears a loud thud sound coming from where Jeffrey is. And he turns and he looks into the opening of this machine where Jeffrey had gone, and he sees what appears to be Jeffrey just lying on the ground inside of this machine. And as he's watching, another coworker runs into the machine where Jeffrey is. And this second coworker who rushes into the machine with Jeffrey just suddenly collapses as well, right next to Jeffrey. And then two more colleagues come running over. They go into the machine and they too collapse. All four people are just down inside of this machine. And so the coworker who's out on this walkway, they run out of the factory and they call 911. When they come back inside to see what's happening in here before first responders have arrived here, this is just like seconds later, and he sees now there's like 20 other of his coworkers that have sort of begun congregating in this area near this machine, and they're all stumbling around, they're all disoriented, people are vomiting. It would not be until later, when authorities were able to go into this factory with proper protective equipment on, that they could actually examine this machine that Jeffrey had been trying to do maintenance on, and also they examined the container that Jeffrey had brought with him into that machine. So the machine that Jeffrey was performing maintenance on was a huge metal tank that had recently been used to store a chemical called zinc cyanide. And so it was going to be Jeffrey's job to go inside of this tank, literally, and clean the inside of it. And so that container he brought with him from the supply room was a chemical cleaning solution. However, the factory had two distinct types of chemical cleaning solutions. Jeffrey knew that, he just accidentally grabbed the wrong one. And when this wrong chemical cleaning solution interacted with the residue of the zinc cyanide inside of that tank, it pretty much immediately created a cloud of poisonous hydrogen cyanide gas. 39 people were hospitalized from this poisonous gas. And of those 39 people, 5 people died, including Jeffrey, the 3 people who rushed in immediately to try to help him and passed out next to him, as well as 1 additional coworker.